Is that the name of the city?
It's the name of the city.
Okay, Waukegan. But I mean, how close to downtown are we?
Well, as far as Waukegan goes,
like Chicago. I guess Waukegan's about 40 minutes or so out from where we're at right now.
Yeah, so it's part of the Chicago DMA.
Is it an Indian casino?
Yes. I don't know. I don't think so. Wait, hang on.
The old Waukegans.
That's right. Hang on, I'm struggling here.
Where the fuck are we, tribe? That's a good dad joke.
It is. Well, Coop put the Milwaukee in our heads forever. That will never go away. That's Chuck Garric. He is a beast monster. He is from Beasto Blanco. He's playing bass guitar tonight with Alice Cooper at the Genessee in Waukegan. Before we talk about Beasto Blanco, before we talk about Alice Cooper, I do want to say this episode of Carne, episode number 292, is sponsored by Nerf Herder at Reggie's. Punk rock fans. It's Nerf Herder back in Chicago for the first time in over 17 years. You like a little punk rock, don't you?
Who doesn't?
You grew up on that stuff. It's Merry Pumpkin Christmas at Reggie's, December 7th, with the copyrights Dan Vapid and the Cheats, Dan Vapid, who is in Screeching Weasel, and Cap Gun Heroes. Proceeds from the show will go to buy food and toys for families in need this holiday season. There will also be a food and toy drive, so if you're going to the show, please bring a non-perishable food item, any gently used toys, or sporting equipment, and you'll automatically be entered into a raffle to win some really rad stuff like guitars, show posters autographed by the bands, and some cool merch baskets. That's Reggie's, Saturday the 7th for the show. To learn more, merrypumpkinchristmas.com. Chuck, you ready to chat?
Why do the punk rockers have the best names for their bands?
They do.
I think some of the Norwegian death metal bands sort of played off of that a little bit, don't you think? Or the death metal bands, because their names are so interesting, like Dying Fetus or Cannibal Corpse, and then you've got Circle Jerks or the Dickies or whatever.
There was a Chicago band, I don't know if they're still active, Texas Toast Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Come on.
Right, I love that
There
stuff.
was a band I grew up called the Donner Party. The Donner Party was the party who ate themselves.
Oh my God, the Alive story?
Yeah. No, that was the soccer team. The Donner Party was a team, a pioneer family that went over Donner Summit in Lake Tahoe, California, and got caught in a snowstorm. And they had to live off of each other's bodies.
Speaking of cannibalism, and I'm glad we're going in this direction. Green Inferno is now on Netflix. Have you ever watched that?
No.
Okay, it's dark as hell. It's an Eli Roth movie. It's about a bunch of Americans wanting to do good, and they end up on this island that's been isolated, and they eat people, and it's just horrific and disgusting and not really for mixed company. But it seems appropriate for you, Chuck.
I think so. Earlier we were talking about dad jokes, and there's my favorite, the cannibal clowns looked at each other and they say, "Does this taste funny?"
That's old school. Yeah. I keep moving this camera. My knee keeps moving this.
Oh, I gotcha. Anyway.
There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So I mentioned you were a beast on stage.
Yeah.
But in real life, you're kind of a Zen dude, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
very
you can't be a beast 24/7. I mean,
you just kind of let it all go on stage.
Hibernate and meditate and get the head right. Then go out
get
there
your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So normally we eat food on this podcast, but you said, you know what? I don't want food. I'm a picky eater. Is that really true, or are we just being generous?
No, I'm selective. I'm a moody eater. It depends on how I feel. Like I'll be going through phases or whatever. I'm type 2 diabetic.
Okay, so that brings with it some challenges.
I'm always trying to new ideas and new approaches to see if I can lower the glucose and figure out what is that causes it to go high and low, and so I'm always on some sort of new food adventure.
Is that hard on the road? Because you're always on the road.
Very hard, yeah.
I'd imagine.
So I live off of protein powders and Quest bars and coffee.
And when I say you're always on the road, it seems like we just saw you on stage in Tinley Park. It was like 4 months ago.
Yeah, I'm always on the road.
This is relentless.
I'm always on the road. It's what I do. The highway is my home. Willie Nelson said that, and I just was like,
Still
what?
True.
It's so true. And I really was thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, but that's my life.
So when I saw you in Tinley Park, it's great seeing the Alice Cooper show in a big amphitheater like the one in Tinley. It's also great to see the Alice Cooper concert experience at a place like the Genessee where you're at tonight. There's something to be said for that smaller, enclosed room.
Yeah.
Locked in a small space with Alice and his band.
For me, I think that's the cool thing about the Alice show is it just transcends all sizes of venues or, audience sizes, what have you. Is it a theater tonight? The show?
Yeah, I mean,
most of these shows, this tour we've been on in November has been theater-sized venues.
Now, were you with the band during Along Came a Spider? Because I think, the tour rolled through Genessee then.
Yeah, I've been in the band
since
forever.
2002, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so...
Yeah. And I haven't missed a show till this last year when Beasto had to do the mega cruise. I had to get a sub for 4 shows, which was kind of odd. But, back to the Alice show, man, I just think it's one of those things where, like, I just talked about, I've been in the band so long, and I've played in front of, hundreds of thousands of people in festivals and then smaller clubs and charity events, and it doesn't really matter. He gives the same show regardless of the size of venue or the size of the audience, and it just is one of those things where you just get into it. You're in the show. Mm-hmm. You're involved, and it really, again, doesn't matter if you're in a nightclub or at Waukegan.
I've seen Alice a dozen times. The show is tight. It's polished. I've never really seen mishaps or, I don't know, off moments. I've got to assume they exist.
Absolutely.
Or do we just not? Are we not aware of them when they happen?
The beauty, and I'll let you in on a little secret. And one of the things I've learned that has really been able to, apply to Beasto Blanco as well as. You don't let the audience know if it's meant to be or not meant to be.
Beasto Blanco. There's your visual aid right there, the latest album, We Are.
Sometimes I think some of those things that happen, the mishaps, become part of the show. Mm-hmm. Honestly, man, I think that there could be one of those things where, like, maybe, something happens, aside from getting smacked in the hand by the sword, which has happened to me, which is something I say, let's eliminate that process, because that, can get a little dangerous at times. But just certain things that happen that we don't necessarily, the audience doesn't know if it's meant to be or if it was an accident. And I think that's the beauty of a live show, and especially a theatrical live show, is that you're again, going back to being in the moment. You're in the moment, so just all of it, remember, it's live, and for the most part it can get monotonous, and we're playing the same songs, and we're a very tight band, and we're a machine, so I think some of those mishaps bring us back to life a little bit.
Well, we showbiz, right?
Them. Yeah, we really live for those, and it's a fun. Like the other night, just talking a bit about humor, because earlier we were talking about Peter Sellers and stuff. The other night, Alice wears this vest, and he throws it behind him without looking, and it was during the song "Raped and Freezing." I just so happened to be...
Which I love that you're playing that.
One of my favorites.
How about it? Okay.
And I know he's going to throw the vest, but I see him, he's going to throw the vest. It looks like he's in a weird position. So I go to move, and when I go to move, he throws the vest, and it lands right on top of my head, and it covers my entire head. And I just stood there for a minute. Now imagine the whole song's going on. He's performing, and he sees the entire front row just dying laughing. Nita is on the ground. She cannot play. She's fallen down on her knees. She's losing her mind, and I look over at her. She's looking down. She's like literally got her hand on her head. She can't stop laughing. Everybody's losing their mind, and I just slowly remove the vest, and then Alice looks at me like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever. So, of course, after the show, what do you think he says? He says, hey, we should do that every night. So I've been trying every night to get the vest on my head, and it's just impossible. It's impossible. Sometimes just the magic, you just can't repeat.
That's showbiz. It's not about the accident, the mistake. It's about the recovery. It's about what you do with it.
Yeah.
So going back to the idea of playing smaller rooms, let's talk a little bit about Beasto Blanco. Yeah. Are you completely on hold? I mean, it seems like the Alice juggernaut is nonstop.
It's really, it's sort of like, threading that needle a little bit, with Beasto. We just got done doing the mega cruise, which was us and Anthrax, because Megadeth couldn't perform, but Anthrax and Lamb of God, Suicidal Tendencies, Corrosion of Conformity.
It's like a Disney cruise, really.
It's really something for the family, all ages, one of those things where you really want to find yourself.
That's right.
I personally had the best time ever, because there was bands that on that cruise that I love so much, especially guys that I've become so close with, like, Pepper and the guys from Corrosion and Conformity, and, John 5, of course. Anthrax I loved as a kid, and I kind of forgot that I loved Anthrax, so I went to go see them, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan.
Charlie's a local.
He's a local Chicago boy, that's right. And he's such a phenomenal drummer, of course. My God. Dave Elson and I are really close friends. Just seeing them, Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Phil and I go way back. We're buddies, and I love love that band. I really think it's like a real true rock and roll band. So for us, our mission right now, because we are limited with the amount of touring that we can do, is let's pick our moments where we can go out, destroy, have fun, be in front of as many people as possible, and the Mega Cruise provided that for us, and we just had a blast. How that boat, it just, the things that I witnessed and the amount of fun I had on that cruise was it was unbelievable, man. It was really good time.
Let's zero in on the word fun, because that's what I think of when I listen to your band.
Thanks,
this is just fun rock and roll.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my idea of Beasto Blanco was for you, if you don't know the band or you don't know the music, you're going to get it after the first verse and chorus. You're going to know what to anticipate next. I kind of approached it sort of like as a Motorhead or a Ramones type thing, but with theatrics, because adding Calico Cooper, you have to have that because she's such a theatrical. She's one of the best performers in rock and roll. I think she's absolutely one of the best out there, and now watching her develop her vocals and her personality on stage, and seeing her sort of slow down and take her time and becoming a real singer as well has been so great to watch. So we are fun, and we're out there having a good time, and the cool thing about our band is that people that don't know who we are, you just see them having a great time, and at the end of it, they're just they're in it with us. And another cool thing I love about Beasto is we just headlined the Mega Cruise, the last show of the cruise, and we were in the theater, and the first front row is 20 photographers, all that were supposed to be, photographing other events, and they're all right there because it's such a visual band,
We talked about a lot of the songs the last time we did the podcast. Again, the latest album is here. One song we didn't talk about is Follow the Bleed. As you're talking about the bands who are on this cruise, I mean, Follow the Bleed bleeds 80s metal to me.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah.
Sonically.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why not? I was inspired by the, and not a lot of people in America know who they are, but it's a band called, and I kind of mispronounced the name because it's a German band, but we toured with them for 2 months in Germany, and they're one of the biggest bands in Germany. They're called the Böse Uncles, which stands for Evil Uncles, and it's ONK. LEZ, Uncles.
It is Thanksgiving season, an appropriate band name.
They're amazing. They sing in German, and they're sort of like they were a punk rock band in the 80s, and then they've now kind of taken on this more mainstream sound, which kind of reminds me of Dropkick Murphys and a little bit of Foo Fighters.
You listen to everything, don't you?
I do. I try to. But we toured with them, and that sound sort of had when I wrote the song, the original title was Dark Germany, because we were in Germany in the winter, and it was inspired by the Uncles and our tour, and it was just had this feeling, this ominous feeling to it. And then we had talked about lyrics and the idea of what the song sort of sounded like, and Lindsay Garric, who writes the lyrics for us, was sort of had this idea of this title, Follow the Bleed, which is sort of follow what's coursing through your own person, and follow your own sights, and stay on this course. And it was interesting, and what I love most about that song is I wish I could let people hear the demo version versus what ends up on the record, because it's just completely two different songs. Although you'll hear sort of the same parts. You'll hear Latham sort of, he played that part in one of the hotels we were in, because I said, hey, put a guitar part to this. But the way it started off was just completely different than what's on the record. And then you hear Calico taking off, doing some vocal scats at the end. They never had any of that stuff. And our producer, Ryan Green, that was one of the first songs I gave him. And I said, hey, man, here's this song. Feel free to dissect it and pick it apart and let me know what you think. And the next day I get this laundry list of how he wants the song to go, and I go, what is he talking? So we start kind of putting it together, and we're in the studio, and with Pro Tools you can kind of move parts over, and he starts adding his own arrangement, and his little chalkboard of things, and you're going to sing this, and you need to write another verse here, and you need to, and I realized, wow, this record's going to be so much fun, because I'm going to be challenged lyrically and musically and vocally and everything, and that song was sort of the beginning of that record for us.
Let's talk a little bit about sequencing on this album. Another fantastic song you kind of tucked in the end is Halcyon.
Oh, yeah.
big hook. I mean, it comes out blazing. There's that spoken word thing, that weird.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is and where it came from?
It's the Greek definition of what a halcyon is. And that is actually Calico Cooper saying that part. Yeah. It's Calico, and she is pitched like 14 octaves.
Did not see that coming. Okay.
Yeah, so we were in the studio, and I had, again, talking about, working with a producer, and I had demoed this song. And you got to understand one thing, and everybody should know this. When you demo a song, I try to personally not go too crazy on fine-tuning my parts.
Right.
Because I know that it's just a demo. And so I will submit, it's even out-of-tune guitar parts. I'm a bass player. I'm not a guitar player, but yet I'm attempting leads and all of this stuff just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking. So that song in particular, I had this weird bridge, dig-a-doom, 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 right? But I really kind of simplified it. Our producer Ryan Green is all into this odd meter. Oh no, take out bar 1, and then you guys play it 7 times. You play it 9 times in this part, and then you go back to 4/4. And we're just going, dude, we're a rock band. What are you trying to do, man? But so it needed this. It had this section in the middle, and we were in the studio, and we were thinking, well, it needs sort of like something in there to describe what halcyon is. And Calico looks up Google and finds this definition of halcyon, and she goes, well, let me go on the mic and I'll just read it, and maybe you can put a weird effect on it or something. So she did, and then we hear the final mix, and
it's cool, and it's dark, and it's
a woman.
That's awesome. Calico Cooper, who you've mentioned a few times, in part of Beasto Blanco, Alice Cooper's daughter, who I interviewed along with you last time I talked to you. You've got Calico in the band. You're in Alice's band. Are you essentially in the Alice Cooper family?
Yeah, we talk about that quite a bit. I am.
Genetics
I'm proud
aside,
to say, that I'm close to everybody in that family. I mean, we just had his son out on the road, and we went and played golf, and we hang out, man. And not only that, but I really admire Alice and his approach to life, sort of the Tao of Coop, if you will. He's got a very interesting take on life, and I think it's the truth. The guy lives a life that is like no other I've ever met, especially with the amount of success that he's had. It's remarkable with his how he walks through life and every day. It's beautiful. His family has the same approach, and the reason why I do love working with Calico so much is because she's such a free spirit. She doesn't really ever like to watch live footage. Matter of fact, I can hardly ever get her to watch live footage because she really doesn't want to see what she's doing, because she doesn't want to think twice about something she's doing, because she may think it looks silly when she's looking back at YouTube, but she knows it's a true action live, which I think is admirable. I love that as well. So working with her is I'm working with a true artist, somebody who really just is a free spirit up there, and she's reacting to what's happening at the time. So people always say, well, you guys do the same set list every night, and you must work out your choreography. And the truth of it is we don't ever work out. We work out little bits. Obviously, it's the same set list, but a lot of what you see is different every night, because we're going off of how we're feeling and what's sort of happening, just the movement.
I'm sure the crowd feeds into that as well. Yeah,
well, the crowd is what incites it.
Yeah.
We're having our own little riot up on stage, and it's interesting because it's never the same show twice. It's the same songs, but it's never the same show.
You talked about the Tao of Coop and working with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on your social media or on the Beasto Blanco social media, talking about playing poker with Alice Cooper, and he drew 3 6s.
Yeah.
See, that's the beauty of Alice Cooper. Like that maniacal persona, that showman, that demonic Alice Cooper. In reality, I mean, he's an entertainer. That's his persona.
The guy vibrates a way of life and vibrates things to come to him like I've never seen in my life. And we play poker every single night. Now, mind you, that the games we play are poker related in the family of poker. Obviously, a pair, 2 pair, a full house, all this stuff applies. But we play a 3-card game. It's called Terminator, or it's called Bulldog, depends. If it's Terminator, you can buy up to 1 card, so everybody gets dealt 3 cards. We also deal in a ghost and a darkness, meaning there's other 2 hands that we have to beat. So everybody gets 3 cards. The rules of this is that a straight beats a flush in a 3-card game, where a normal 5-card poker, a flush beats a straight. Well, straight beats a flush because it's harder to get. And if you get natural 3 6s, it trumps everything.
Of course.
Royal flush, because it's the devil's hand.
Of course.
Okay, so we've been playing since I've been in the band for years. Nobody's ever got a natural 3 6s. We do keep a joker in the deck as a wild card as well. So he's always saying, oh, don't forget 3 6s. And he said it out loud, and luckily nobody went in, because if you go in, whatever money's in the pot, if you lose, you match. So he would get the pot plus whatever. So let's say there's $6 in there. He actually wins 12. So he flops over his natural 3 6s and trumps us all. And it's great, because he'll call it and get it. And at times you start to vibrate on that. So everybody's, we're out there. No matter what we're doing, if we're playing a show, if we're in the mall, or if we're riding on a bus playing poker, it's always just a real true, let your hair down, have fun, be yourself situation, and you can get pissed and mad if you match, and everyone laughs and goes with, and laughs with you, because we're with family, and it's just how it goes,
Since we're on the topic of performers and their allegiance to Satan, you worked with Ronnie James Dio. The hologram thing, what's your opinion on that?
Well, first off, Ronnie was before I played with Alice, and I owe everything to Ronnie and Wendy. They were phenomenal to me. I grew up loving Rainbow and Sabbath and Dio. I mean, it just, how could I not? That music just spoke to me, and Ronnie's voice and Jimmy Bain's bass playing, and I just loved the band so much. So when I got the opportunity to audition for Dio, I remember getting a call from Wendy, and I kind of thought it was a joke, but then she said, hey, Ronnie wants you to come down and audition. We didn't know each other, but he had heard about me through one of their texts.
And this is what, like 25 years ago?
1999.
Close, yeah.
Close. Yeah. So so I went down there, and I knew the stuff already. I just knew it from listening to it. So I think I ended up jamming, I went down there knowing 7 songs and ended up playing 3 or 4. And then Ronnie was such a cool guy, and it was such an easy experience. And he offered me the gig right there on the spot, And the funny thing about the story was, they were going on the road with Motorhead and Manowar over in Europe. Now, I'd never been to Europe. I didn't have a passport or anything.
You didn't have a loincloth on top of that.
He said, hey, we're going to go, November, we leave in November, we're going to go tour with Motorhead and Manowar, and you got a passport, right? And I go, yeah, of course I got a passport. He goes, great, well, just call up the office and give them your passport number. I'm like, okay, great. So I get in the car and I drive straight to the post office, and I'm like, I need a passport now, and it was pretty funny, because I thought, I was always taught, just lie through it all and figure it out.
I was going to say, that was the lesson I was always told. Just say yes and figure it out if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. When are you going to get the opportunity to play with one of the best?
Ronnie James Dio, and like you, I mean, those Rainbow albums that he was on, and the 2 Sabbath albums in the late 70s, holy crap.
Yeah, man, I get emotional when I listen to him now. But get back to the hologram thing. I mean, when you got a spirit like Ronnie James Dio with that voice and that charisma, I mean, we all miss him, and we want to feel close to him, and if it's a way for them to keep the legacy alive, then I say all for it. I don't know what Ronnie's take would be on it. I don't know. Would Lemmy want a hologram of himself or whatever? But rock and roll is in a weird place right now. When you got guys like Alice in his 70s still carrying the torch of rock and roll, like, are we allowed to cuss on this show?
Yeah, it's a podcast.
What the fuck is wrong with you kids? Really, where is rock and roll going, man?
I was going to bring that up.
That is the problem, is that we're stuck with fucking holograms, because these kids aren't, putting it out there. So we need to get the youth up there. We need to get these kids to carry the torch.
I agree.
Because, it's like there's guys like myself and other guys out there still rocking, doing our own things, and we're going to continue on until we can't do it anymore. But I would like to see rock and roll continue and be a force to be reckoned with.
It's got to, guitar music has to come back. It's just the way it works. But it's funny. My son, who's in high school, who I took to see the last Alice Cooper show, the way he described it at his high school, the kids listen to country and hip-hop. Like, rock is
Yeah.
Not playing in those cars in the parking lot.
Like it used to when we were kids, when we talk about like those old punk rock bands, and and I grew up listening to everything. 7 Seconds rehearsed down the street from my house, and I would listen to 7 Seconds. My dad was a banjo player. I grew up listening to bluegrass. I loved Duran Duran and Thompson Twins in the 80s, but I still listened to Maiden, and I still listen to every band, I Kiss to AC/DC to the Who and Bread, anything I could get my hands on. I loved it all because it was so important. Nowadays, it's like, I just listen to dance or I just listen to techno. And
I don't understand that.
It's like, dude, grow, get some culture and listen to what all types of music have to offer. And my daughter's like that. She's not a musically inclined person, but she knows about classic rock. She knows, obviously, because she grew up with a dad blasting that stuff. But she listens to more contemporary R&B, but she still will listen to rock because she grew up on it. And I think it's the responsibility of parents, just as it is math or history. You got to know music. You got to enjoy it because there's a lot out there. I mean, think about how the Beatles lyrically spoke to you, or any of that stuff. I mean, gosh darn, you're going to learn more about trees if you listen to Rush than you go to school.
In fact, start with the Hemispheres album.
Yes, come on.
That's a fantastic album. So what was the first record you ever bought? Do you remember, like, the first time with your own money going to the record store?
I don't remember the first record I bought. I think it might have been Draw the Line.
Nice.
Aerosmith.
That's one of my favorite riffs in rock history, the title track.
Yeah, one of mine too as well. But I also remember buying a Glenn Campbell record at a garage sale as a kid too for 10 cents or whatever. I used to buy anything and everything, and I had no idea what it was. I remember as a kid buying Paul Revere and the Raiders 45s, and I had no idea what that meant. I just loved the name the Raiders because I knew the football team as a little kid.
That's awesome.
So I was like, I wonder what this sounds like, and then I would just go put it on. I just didn't know a lot of music I was buying. Sometimes I would buy just based on the album cover or, a song that I heard on the record. I remember growing up in Lake Tahoe, and there was this DJ, he's still there in Reno, named Max Volume. But at midnight, Max Volume would play all the new releases and play, the new Judas Priest is coming out today, and whatever it was. And I would stay up and I would tape it. I would never be able to stay awake for 2 hours, but so I would, on my cassette deck, I would tape the entire show, and then I'd get up in the morning and I would listen to all the songs, and then I would go to the music store in the morning and I'd say, I like this. What is this?
These are radio stories that I love hearing.
Yeah. That's Triumph. Okay, let me check that out, and I would buy the record.
I love that. All right, and it's funny. I stopped by a record store on the way here. I used to have all these records.
What'd you get?
I gave all my records away to charity years ago. So now I'm buying back
whiskey.
Buying back all my old records. Lace and Whiskey.
Yep. Special Forces. Yeah,
during Alice Cooper's off period.
Blackout period.
Blackout period, yeah. Although he does a live version of Generation Landslide on this that I still love.
And the most requested song, by the way, and I've never played live with him.
I was going to say that to me, every bit as much as No More Mr. Nice Guy or Is It My Body or whatever. That to me is an Alice Cooper standard. Yeah. It's a generational anthem.
It's funny what people know and don't know, and there's so many great records or great songs that we could play. But, the audiences now are just so No More Mr. Nice Guy. The other day, this is just a funny story. I don't know how much time I got, but there was 4 guys in New York. 4 or 7 guys. I can't remember. Older dudes. Older than me. Well, they looked older than me anyway. But they're standing there in the freezing cold wanting an autograph. And they say, is Alice coming out? And they got their stuff and everything, and I go, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's cold out, he's not on this bus, he's going to enter through another door, he's not coming out here until the end of the show. They're like, hey, okay, cool, hey, you got any guitar picks on you? And I go, I don't, but I'll go inside and I'll go get you some. So it's cold, I go inside, I get guitar picks, and I go back out. Now these guys are diehard fans, right? I said, hey man, so I'm going to give you this guitar pick, but each of you need to name a song. I never do this, but each of you need to name a song that's not School's Out, that's not No More Mr. Nice Guy, that's not 18, and not Poison.
Wow, you're a ball buster.
Come on. If you're a fan, you would know anything, you know, and none of them could say a song other than School's Out. And one guy said Under My Wheels, and I go, all right, fine, I'll give it to you. But I said, come on, there's not even, you can't think of anything else. I go, what's your favorite record? Well, School's Out. I go, okay, well, what about Looney Tune? And the guy goes, I don't have that record. And I go, no, that's the first song off the record. So I'm not trying to be a ball buster, and I've never done that before. I mean, Nikki Sixx and I talked about that because he's done that to a couple of the fans before. If you're such a big fan, you know, name a song other than, you know,
right.
that. But I get it. We're blessed to have our fans, and even if they love No More Mr. Nice Guy, or their favorite song is Poison.
Devil's Food.
Devil's Food. There you go. Yeah. Good for you, man.
Nightmare Era.
Hey, and listen, I'll be the first to admit, and I've admitted this in many interviews, when I got the gig with Alice Cooper, I was a limited...
Muscle of Love. Okay.
Good call.
Yeah.
I was a limited Alice Cooper guy. I did not know songs like, and I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't know Drive Me Nervous. I didn't know Ballad of Dwight Fry. I didn't know Halo of Flies. Again, going back to lying and telling the truth, Alice asked me, hey, do you know Halo of Flies? And I said, oh, you mean the live version or the studio version? I had no idea what he was talking about.
Oh, well played.
Yeah, and it turns out I go to, and it's on the set list, and I listen to it, and I'm like, oh my God, this song's like 9 minutes long. What the hell was I thinking? But, you know, I've learned everything now. You know, I know a lot about Alice, and I just, you know, it's one of those things. It's a challenge to go back and listen to, because guys like Alice, they have songs that are great. No More Mr. Nice Guy's great. School's Out's great. Under My Wheels is great. 18's great. But you know what? You know, so are some other songs on those B-sides.
Dwight Fry,
Killers, Caught in a Dream, all of that stuff is great songs. So, you know, there's more to just listening to the single that's out on Spotify.
See, I still have this fantasy that someday Alice will do album plays. Like,
we were just talking about that last night.
I would kill a Drifter to see, like, From the Inside live, start to finish.
My favorite record.
It's so good. The Bernie Taupin album, it's so
great,
good,
man. So great, and just beautifully produced, and the background vocals.
We're All Crazy is such a glorious song, and
Nurse Rosetta. I love all that. I love it, and we talk about it all the time, and if that would be something people would be into. I've always wanted to take them on the road and just do, like, let's just do nightclubs, just, you know, 500-seat dive bars, and we do nothing but the B-sides of just stuff, just grim facts and just things that people have no idea.
That's also a Blackout Period song.
Yeah. But just do stuff that you do not do anything popular.
I'd lose my mind. Yeah. It's probably too costly to pull off something like that.
Yeah, man. See if we can get him in the van,
dude.
Go earn it, kid.
Who's Nurse Rosetta these days on stage?
Well, we don't have a nurse anymore. It's a castle.
Ah, that's right.
So we had Mademoiselle Guillotine, played by
I love when you speak French.
Yeah, played by Cheryl Cooper.
Love it. All right, so tonight, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, Alice Cooper returns to the Genessee Theater. That is Chuck Garric. You'll see him tear apart the stage playing bass. You'll see Nita change people's outlooks on life, the way she plays guitar on stage.
Ryan Roxy, one of the best guitar players Alice has ever had. Tommy Hendrickson, phenomenal rhythm player, great background vocalist. Glenn Sobel, solid drummer. This is a great band. It really, truly is. I think if you're a musician, bass player, guitar player, drummer, singer, songwriter, whatever, you're in for a treat with this band.
And before you go, I do want to say again, where did I put the CD? Beasto Blanco.
It's like chicken soup. It's good for you.
It is good for you. And it's, you know, get a CD or stream it, listen to it. Just check the stuff out. You'll love it. I
stole that quote, by the way, from Andrew Wood, Mother Love Bone. Listen to that, kids.
Yeah. Catch up on that.
Yes. You'll hear where Pearl Jam came from.
All right, so hopefully we'll see some Beasto action live next year. For now, it's all about Alice Cooper. What a show. I cannot wait. Thank you, Chuck. And thank you for watching
you guys.
Facebook Live. I'm going to turn this off.